to begin, please take this time to find your seats and to silence your cell phones. Thank you.
Don't worry, I'm not a spy.
Hi there. Excuse me. Hey, how you doing?
They got it right. Surprised by that. They're figuring out budget and what I didn't want to. I got
These people over in Buchanan, he had a retirement ceremony with Brian When is that? Next week? So Tuesday. I get it.
We would have had fun.
So there's no sense asking you how did it go.
But yeah, they announced the 6 animation. That was cool. That was a fun day. But I was just kind of showing up and jeans and jeans. And he, right? And I'm sure he's I don't know for every war with none of the wars exactly.
I like the movie
like, oh, okay, I'm gonna wear that.
Hey, how are you doing? Nice to be here in Peekskill, right? Nice to see you.
You're already on the aisle. Over here.
Yes,
Yeah, right. Hi, I'm Nobody from Oh, nice to know you. You must know a lot about Peekskill. You must know a lot about Peekskill. What's up below? I'm into waves. I know. It was especially if you're a history about
oh yeah.
What's up, man?
Even as I definitely have a secret.
Obviously I'm cool, but that was what we missed.
Yeah, I didn't need it.
Right by my house. see, he did the whole thing. But he never, other than when he was cross lines and he looked down, he did not look down once while he was speaking. Unbelievable. And it was phenomenal. Totally slow. 7, 8, 9 minutes. Maybe? No, maybe not that. 5, 6 minutes.
It's the leftover. If you look at the where are there another I mean, I got a but I've also got
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senator Pete Harckham, and please welcome Governor Andrew Cuomo.
I'm just as excited. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh my God, do you feel good to be here this morning?
Yes.
Doesn't it feel good to be here this morning?
Yes.
We're not just celebrating swearing in State Senate Pete Harckham. We're here celebrating new leadership, new commitment, new dedication. This is a great moment in the city of Peekskill, a great moment in the county of Westchester, and a great moment for the state of New York, ladies and gentlemen. And I am proud to be here tonight to MC this wonderful morning with such great people. I keep saying evening, right? Such great people. Now, Peekskill is a friendly town. So we always welcome our guests. So I'm going to acknowledge some people that are here today. If you are here, you can please just stand up and wave to the audience. And people, give them a round of applause like we're in Peekskill, New York, please. Yeah. All right, I'm going to start off by acknowledging our New York State Senator, Shelley Mayer. New York State Assemblyman, David Buckle. State Assemblywoman Sandy Galen. New York State Assemblyman Kevin Byrd. Our Westchester County Executive George Latimer. As you can see, some of these people need no introduction. Dutchess County Comptroller Robin Lois. Harckham County Sheriff Robert Langley. Town Supervisor of Yorktown Ian Gilbert. Town Supervisor of Newcastle Robert Greenstein. Town Supervisor of Lewisboro Peter Parsons.
Oh yeah, Peter. Yeah, Peter.
Town of Portland Supervisor Linda Puglisi. Supervisor of the Town of Portland, James Smith. Mayor of the Village of Mount Kisco, Gina Pacinich. Mayor of the Village of Croton, Ryan Pug. Mayor of the Village of Portland, Robert Lifflin. Members of the Westchester County Legislature, the Board of Education of the City of Peekskill, And of course, all of our friends in labor. Once again, we are here celebrating a moment that we shall never forget, especially here in the city of Peekskill. So I thank you all for being here this morning. We will begin with the invocation from Imam Saad Gawida from the Hudson Valley Islamic Center of Mohegan Lake and Rabbi Arab Russo from Mount Kisco, New York. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, please.
In the name of God, the most gracious, the most compassionate. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. May greeting of peace be upon you all. Thank you, Senator Harckham, for giving me this opportunity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran, chapter of Yasin, verse number 12. Indeed, it is we who bring the dead to life and record what they have put forth and what they left behind, and all things we have enumerated in a clear register. Brothers and sisters, the Prophet, may peace be upon him, said, the best among people are those who benefit people the most. The best among people are those who help people the most. Our brother Senator Peter Harckham is going to serve people, help people, and stand in support of those in need. I ask God, I ask Allah to help him. I ask Allah to grant him the power to be just and to successfully serve our people. I ask God, I ask Allah that he help us all help his people. May greeting of peace be upon you all.
Good morning. Good morning. Recently, I crossed an ocean to enter this country, but thanks to Ambien, I don't remember much of it. I don't remember much of customs and immigration. I wasn't there long enough for it to have made an impression. I slid my passport into a scanner, pressed the pads of my fingers on some backlit glass, and a machine spit out a piece of paper before I could lose my train of thought. I passed long lines of people speaking foreign languages on my way to get my bag. The officer standing between me and the arrivals hall said, "Welcome," in the same way I used to greet customers who entered the Gap, where I worked on vacations when I was home. For the first time, the whole experience felt strange, and I couldn't figure out why. Later that day, I was listening to voices on the radio talk about people who came to this country, people who want to come to this country. They were talking about their motivations, their worthiness, their ability to fit in. The tone felt so presumptuous, and I couldn't put my finger on it till I remembered how the gates of entry swung wide for me that morning. How thoughtless the act of citizenship was. The truth is, I did absolutely nothing to earn or deserve my citizenship. It was gifted to me at birth because of a decision my great-grandparents made. I didn't have to work for it, sacrifice for it, or travel to get it. It was given to me before I even knew to dream of it, before I even knew what dreams were. It's self-evident that there are millions of people in this country that did much more than I in order to be a part of it. Before I even begin to speak of them, I must first acknowledge that my Ambien was their sleepless nights. My fingerprints were the labor of their hands. And the welcome I received with the entitlement of a consumer was the very same thing that made them cry. If I begin this way, maybe I won't speak of them as them at all, but as infinitely precious human beings with universes of emotion as vast and complicated as my own. Before we talk about what it means to earn the right to be here, we should express gratitude for the gift most of us did nothing to deserve. As Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said, it is gratefulness that makes the soul great. Amen.
We'll give one more round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Please, one more round of applause. I also want to acknowledge the Peekskill City School District. If any members of the Peekskill City School District are here, please just stand real quick so we can give you a round of applause. Dr. Mauricio, the superintendent, Principal Arthur, and also my colleagues, my partners, please acknowledge if you're here too. Please stand up. The City of Peekskill Council. Try and acknowledge them. Kathy gives me this look every once in a while. Love you. Without further ado, right at this moment, we're going to ask the Color Guard, Putnam County Composite Squadron Civil Air Patrol to come out with the Girl Scouts, Polling Girl Scout Services of Dutchess County. Please welcome them as they get ready for the Pledge of Allegiance, ladies and gentlemen. Hands together one time. Everybody please rise. Get prepared for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. It's never easy getting on stage. We appreciate you guys. I think we were all nervous trying to figure out who's going to start it off, right? So the next up, we have the, we've seen them perform all over the world. They're actually a phenomenal group led here by the city, the Peekskill High School. So I want to please give them a warm welcome as they come up to sing America the Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, from Peekskill High School, the Peekskill City Singers, ladies and gentlemen. Peekskill City Singers. Isn't that awesome, ladies and gentlemen? Now, I wouldn't be a good mayor if I didn't do this. So I want to say a special shout out to my son, Z, who's in the audience. I love you. Today marks another day in history for the city of Peekskill, and it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of this moment. I've been given the opportunity to welcome our New York State Governor, Andrew Cuomo, to swear in Pete Harckham as our New York State Senator, ladies and gentlemen. Governor Cuomo, who was recently inaugurated for his 3rd term, is a great friend of mine, great friend of Peekskill, and certainly a champion for Westchester. As a Westchester resident himself, he understands the challenges that we face, and he's working with us to build a better, safer future for all. From rebuilding our infrastructure, to fighting for our progressive ideals, to taking action to lower taxes, he's delivered for the region and for the entire state of New York. And especially now, with the support of new leaders like Senator Harckham, I can't wait to see what more he will achieve this next term. So it is my honor and great pleasure to introduce him today. So I ask that you all join me the Peekskill way, and let's welcome the 56th Governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo.
How exciting is today? Yeah. Let's give a big, big round of applause to Peter Harckham, the man. Mayor Rainey, who's doing a great job here. He's a rising star. To the rabbi and the imam, thank you for those beautiful words of inspiration. Thank you. The Peekskill City Singers, they were unbelievable. Yeah. The Girl Scouts did a great job. Let's give them a round of applause. I have on my official itinerary, just so you know, that the mayor was supposed to start the Pledge of Allegiance. So I don't say anything, but give the Girl Scouts another round of applause. They were introduced, but Senator Harckham is joining a great team of legislators in Albany, and that's what it takes. It takes a team. And we have Shelley Mayer. Let's give another round of applause. And David Buckler, and Steve Otis, and Sandy Gaddis, and Kevin Byrne. I'm excited about what they're going to do together. I am a Mount Kisco resident, so if you don't mind a little piece of business, we have the County Executive George Latimer here and Mayor Pacinich. I have a puddle at the end of the year. Kisco says it's the county says it's Mount Kisco. I had to wear boots to get out of my house today, boots. I pay my taxes. It's not a state road. See? It is not. If it was a state road, it would be fixed by now. Let's give George Latimer Mayor Pacinich When I was first chatting with Peter about making this run, he said something very smart. And it said to me that he really knows what it's about. He said he had to check with his family. And I know what that meant. Peter was experienced, he'd been in public service. Public service is a family sacrifice. And trust me, I know from my father and from my experience. It is a family decision and a family sacrifice because, yes, Peter Harckham will be the senator, but that means he's out at night, he's out on weekends, it means he's not around to do the things that other fathers would do and other partners would do. So it really is a sacrifice that the entire family makes, and it's something I respect. And let's acknowledge Emma and Kate, his daughters, and Jared and Finley, and Jim Stevens, his partner, and Janet Harckham, and Alma Harckham. Thank you. Thank you for the contribution that you all are making. My father never asked me if I cared if he ran for president. It was a different generation. He just said, put the posters on the poles and don't talk back. I'm excited for the 40th district. Yeah. They are getting one heck of a public servant. Yeah. Peter Harckham is a full package. He has done everything. He served as a county legislature. He knows the not-for-profit world and housing with A-Home. I had the pleasure of working with him in the state government where he worked in the state housing department. He worked on the new Tappan Zee Bridge. I know Peter is Superman. He did not build the bridge all by himself. He did build the right side of the bridge all by himself, but he had help on the left. And let's give him a round of applause for that bridge. He is not only going to be a great senator for the 40th district, he is going to be a great leader in the Senate. Because leadership is a function of head and heart. And Peter really is that combination. He knows the job, he knows it from every aspect, but he has a heart as big as the state of New York. He's doing this for all the right reasons. He did it with courage. This was not an easy race. This was not an easy journey. And he really stepped up because he believes. And I am confident that in 2 years, when he comes back to the people of the 40th district, he will be able to say that the state of New York has done more for the 40th district than it has ever done in the history of the state of New York, period. We understand the needs. He understands the needs. We have to help the middle-class families. We have to get taxes down. We have to cap our property taxes, which are out of sight and are oppressing homeowners all throughout the Hudson Valley. We'll do more economic development in the Hudson Valley than ever before, more middle-class jobs created than ever before. And we're going to get to the essence of the most crucial issue this state and this nation is facing. And the rabbi touched on this and the mayor touched on this. I did my swearing in at Ellis Island, and people said, well, why would you do it at Ellis Island? Which first of all was technically in New Jersey. So I said, I want to do it in Ellis Island because we're dealing with fundamental issues in this country right now. And sometimes you have to take a step back and remember where we came from. With this federal government, we are seeing a spreading cancer in this nation, and the cancer is the division among us. They have used divide and conquer, which is not a new strategy or a novel strategy. As a matter of fact, it's an old and it's an ugly strategy. But that's the strategy they use to win politically. And that's the strategy they've been using governmentally. And it is poison for this nation. Ellis Island, because we are all from someplace else. We are all immigrants. We are all different. And when try to demonize our differences. You tear the fabric that is this nation. The nation exists, the state exists, because we say we understand we're diverse. We understand we're from different places. And we accept it and we consider it a strength, and the commonality is the values that we all hold dear. That's what made America America, and New York knows that better than anyone else. Because we were the laboratory for that American experiment of democracy. There is no place that has more diversity and more differences and more density. 19 million people in one state from every land on the globe, all accepting each other and not judging on color of skin or sexual orientation or race. We are New Yorkers. And this legislature is going to stand up and fill that void and the vacuum that this federal government is creating. Let them try to divide us. Let them try to divide us by religion and by race. We're going to say the exact opposite in this legislative session. We are one, we are united, we respect each other's rights. We're going to stand up for women's rights who have been disrespected. Stand up for the rights of the LGBTQ community, which has been disrespected. And we're going to set a tone of unity rather than division. New York has always led the way, always. You look back in the history books, whenever this nation was at a crossroads, whenever there was a tension and they were figuring out the way forward, New York was always there as a shining beacon. And we will be, once again, pointing the way forward. And Peter Harckham is going to be in the middle of that crusade and leading that crusade, and it's my honor to swear in Senator Peter Harckham at this time. Positioning is very important here, otherwise it does not work if you are in the wrong position. Right hand on the Bible, raise your left hand, please. A little closer, please. One of my daughters has stopped positioning. I'm not going to governor now. Please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Peter Harckham,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of State Senator of New York, according to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you all very much. Thank you all for coming. First, I want to thank a few people before I start my remarks. Certainly we want to thank Governor Cuomo. I've known the governor, yes, please. I've known the governor nearly 20 years. He's always been a champion of New York as Secretary of HUD, as Attorney General, and now entering his third term as governor. You remember when he took office, this state was in the grips of the Great Recession. We now have more private sector jobs in the history of New York State, thanks to him. First state to ban fracking. First state with $15 minimum wage. Paid family leave, free college tuition. It's an impressive record, and I look forward to working with the governor in my new capacity. Mayor Rainey, thank you. What a welcome to Peekskill. Thank you so much. My good friend and your good friend, County Executive George Latimer, thank you. And to all of you in the clergy, thank you for your wonderful work. The Girl Scouts and the Color Guard, please. Now, I thought the Peekskill City Singers were so good that I wouldn't even have to speak. We'll just bring them out for a couple more songs. Let's hear it for them. And Dr. David Mauricio, the superintendent of the Peekskill schools, along with the principal, the school board, the PTO, and everybody who worked so hard on today's event. And certainly thank my team as well. Thank you. I want to recognize and thank Senator Andrea Stewart Cousins, who will be my leader as the first woman to lead the New York State Senate. And of course, my new colleagues for me, but certainly people who I've known a long time, the great state delegation who are here today. And I want to thank you for all of your help that you've given me during this transition, and I can't wait to get to work with you. Thank you all very much. And I want to thank all of our local partners in government who are here. I noticed that Pound Ridge Supervisor Kevin Hansen is here. North Salem Supervisor Warren Lucas we saw come in, and all of the local partners in government, thank you. I look forward to working with you. Putnam County Executive Mary Ellen Odell, who could not be here, who's been very, very helpful with the transition on Putnam issues and an office in Carmel. We thank her. And finally, I want to thank Senator Terrence Murphy for all of his service. We wish him and his family all the best. And to all of you, I say thank you for being here, and for those of you who are celebrating, happy Three Kings Day. Thank you. Now, somebody once said, if you want to make God laugh, have a plan. And that's kind of what happened here. You know, I wrote down some thoughts yesterday, and people who know me and work with me know I rarely speak from notes or from a speech. But I figured, well, the campaign has shifted. Let me put down a couple of thoughts. And then the theme has completely changed. And I appreciate that. And I was really struck by all of the remarks, because 3 of my 4 grandparents were foreign born. They came here at a time when immigrants were not welcome. They had nothing, and they worked hard. One worked as a seamstress in the garment district. Another was an engineer on a fireboat, and my other grandfather was a porter in the buildings of New York, stoking coal, cleaning out spittoons and slop sinks. It was dirty and it was hard work. And from that came the beginning of the Service Employees Union, working hard, but standing up and fighting back. And so like you, Rabbi, I feel as though I have not earned my citizenship either. I feel as though I was born into it. But public service is a way of earning that citizenship, of giving back. whether it's on a library board, a school board, a town board, whatever it is that you can do, we need to do. We need good people at this time and at this place, because our nation is being torn apart by hatred, by ideology, and that's why we're here in Peekskill today, because we embrace the diversity of Peekskill. That's why we're going to be putting our office here, because we want to be accessible to everybody as we possibly can. And we recognize that our diversity is our greatest strength. But those of us who govern and have been given the opportunity to govern need to govern humbly. You know, that I can't remember when trash talking started passing for governing and legislation. But we need to start changing the tone, and that will start today. So we have so much to do. We talked a lot during the campaign about many of the progressive issues that had been stalled in the Senate. Reproductive health care, the Red Flag Bill, the Child Victims Act, all of those are going to be moving very, very quickly. Working with Senator Andre Stewart-Cousins and working with the governor and his team, those are going to be moving very quickly. Common sense gun safety, election reform. And for the first time in a long time, a real conversation about universal health care in New York. But we have a lot of local issues that we need to deal with. And first and foremost, to my local colleagues in government, it doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or what the makeup of your towns are. I work for you. And I cannot be successful unless all of you are successful. So it's not about me imposing some vision on your municipality. It's me being a support service to you and what you're trying to accomplish with the people of your municipality. You know, we have 1,200 families who live in uncertainty about the closure of Indian Point and what that is going to do to their school district and their municipality. And we will focus like on a laser on economic redevelopment and what we can do to save those jobs by requiring Entergy to hire them during the decommissioning of the plant. Climate change. I don't know if I'd scream for that. No, I'm just kidding, I get it. You know, this is such a serious threat. I remember a few years ago when we talked about climate change, it was like, wow, this could really impact our grandkids. And then it shifted a few years ago to, wow, this is really gonna impact our kids. And then 2 new studies came out and it was like, holy cow, we've got 12 years where this is gonna be impacting us. So everything we do has to be focused on how do we get away from a fossil fuel economy and onto a clean, renewable energy economy. And finally, many families in this district and many families throughout New York State have lost people due to the opioid crisis. They've either lost their lives or they've lost their way, and this is a real tragedy. That more people in this country died of opioid overdose than at the height of the AIDS epidemic. So as the chair of alcoholism and substance abuse, this will be a top priority for me, not just in the Hudson Valley, but throughout New York State. We've got to get people the health coverage that they need so they can get the long-term treatment and treat the co-occurring disorders that often send people back for relapse after relapse. And I make that pledge to you. And yet with all those challenges, I'm very hopeful. You know, we've got great leadership. Andrea Stewart-Cousins, Governor Andrew Cuomo. we've got a great delegation here. County Executive George Latimer, Mayor Andre Rainey, all of the great elected officials here. You know, that if we all remember what team we play for, it's not the Democratic team, the Republican team, the legislative team, the executive branch team, we're all the New York team. And if we approach this with humility and remember who it is that we work for and where it is that we come from, we're going to get some amazing things accomplished. Thank you all.
Thank you.
One more time for Pete Harckham, ladies and gentlemen. Senator Pete Harckham. Also round of applause for Governor Andrew Cuomo. If you excuse himself, he has to go. So we're going to take care of our business. We thank you for being here. Just want to say, very important line. Senator Pete Harckham said is he will be opening his office here in Peekskill, New York. So if anybody has any complaints, concerns, or issues, I will give you his address. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome, he's familiar, everybody in the city should know who he is, but if you don't, you will know him today. He's going to say a few words today. I want us to please give him a Peekskill welcome, the one and only County Executive, George Latimer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Senator Pete Harckham. Doesn't that sound terrific? Yeah! I want, one more time, all of the elected officials in the room to stand up for a second. Every single one of you. Please, everyone stand up if you're an elected official. Please give them a round of applause. You only care about yourself. You tell me if that's who Dwayne Jackson is. You tell me if that's who Robin Lois is, or Warren Lucas, or Peter Parsons, or Mary Jane Shinsky. These people, as the governor said earlier, have made a sacrifice. And just like Pete Harckham, they've been given an opportunity by the people in the jurisdiction that voted for them to do something of value. And that is why we're here today as Pete begins his term as senator. I specifically want to shout out, because no executive should be foolish enough not to credit his legislature that he works with, Catherine Parker, the majority leader, Michael Kaplowitz, the former chair of the board, Catherine Borgia, head of budget and appropriations, Mary Jane Shinsky, 4 county legislators, stand up. Co-equal branch of government. I learned now for 1 year as an executive, they can drive you crazy. 30 years as a legislator helped me balance off that reality. Today in my faith tradition, Christian tradition, is known by some as Three Kings Day. It's also known as Epiphany Sunday. And the word epiphany means manifest, that something becomes clear to you, and sometimes in almost an immediate moment. And the story of the 3 wise men that come to see the baby Jesus theologically represents the discovery, the epiphany of who this is that they've come to visit. But we have epiphanies in the secular world as well. We have moments of clarity where we understand exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. And let me tell you about a very simple epiphany that happened to me standing on Park Avenue South easily 25 years ago, and how it relates to Peter Harckham as he begins his senatorial term. I was waiting for a business client. I was in the Rye City Council at the time, but I was waiting for a business client involved in my corporate life at the time. I was on 38th and Park Avenue South, and I had time on my hands. It was a spring day, and I was standing there, and I was jingling the change in my pocket. And as I pulled out just to see what I had in my hand, I happened to have a quarter, a dime, and a penny, 36 cents. I actually had some other money on me because I was paying for lunch. But when I looked at the 36 cents, and I started to think just with this random few minutes that I had, I realized that I had an American history lesson sitting in my pocket. Because on those 3 common American coins, are the faces of George Washington on the quarter, Abraham Lincoln on the penny, and Franklin Roosevelt on the dime. Now, we pay a lot of things through credit cards. Some of you may not know that's called cash, coinage, a little bit of it. But as I thought about it, I realized that we in this country do lionize the people that we think have made the greatest contribution. Some of them are on Mount Rushmore, but some of them are on our coinage. And I thought a little bit about those three presidents, the crises they faced, and also how they were able to overcome it. And in the process of just a few extra minutes, because my client was late by about 20 minutes, I realized that the outcome of the dealing of the crisis in American history was not at all apparent at the beginning of the crisis. And this is important for those of us in the county to appreciate, for those of us in the state, most of whom I've served with in both houses, those in municipal government where I have served in a companion government. We see outcomes that are not certain at the beginning of a challenge. The Peekskill City Council has challenges, and it's not at all sure how you're going to get through them. George Washington, who we lionize, we're going to spend $2 to $3 million to fix the Miller House in North Castle, where George Washington spent a night or two as part of the Battle of White Plains, because we think that's an important statement of history here in the United States and right here in Westchester County, just as Lincoln is an important statement down here in Peekskill. George Washington, the father of our country, the person who led us into battle and was the hero of the Revolutionary War, was not at the time necessarily seen as the great George Washington. He had a ragtag group of military people to come together. It wasn't at all sure in Valley Forge that he could hold that military group together. And by the time we won the Revolutionary Wars, we were setting up the government. We had a failed try called the Articles of the Confederation. This is all on the final. Take notes, you're in school. We had a do-over. And the do-over was the American Constitution. And you had the brilliance of Adams and Jefferson and Hamilton all fighting. George Washington was the least intellectual of the founding fathers, in the minds of those founding fathers. Fast forward to the era leading up to the Civil War. We had failed president after failed president after failed president, although we're giving them a good run right now. We have a battle to find out who can serve this country best, and the Republican Party picked what was considered a backwoods lawyer from Illinois, who had a very small national presence and was not at all sure that he was capable of taking on this divisive nature that was heading to a civil war. He came through Peekskill on a train from Springfield on his way to Washington, D.C. And when he became president of the United States, 13 states seceded from the country. That's the confidence at the beginning of this crisis that was held in Abraham Lincoln. And then when Franklin Delano Roosevelt, from right up the road in Hyde Park, took on the presidency, that very weekend that he took over, the banks of the United States of America were failing, and they had to be closed to stop a run on them. It was a crisis that we had never seen before. Now, those who knew Franklin Roosevelt knew that he was crippled and would never stand up and walk. And they questioned whether his background was sort of a dilettante type of individual, whether he had the fortitude to take this nation through that crisis. We know the way those three stories ended. Washington established a history and a precedential base for the governing of this country, and after 2 terms, he stepped away from it to make sure that we didn't have a dynasty. Abraham Lincoln pressed through to win a civil war, but in every word from his mouth, he talked about a common goal, a common vision, with charity toward all, malice toward none, an unbelievable equation of what the Civil War was fought about, to give us a way to have a new birth of freedom. And Franklin Roosevelt spoke of freedoms as well, 4 freedoms. And in so doing, gave us a reason not only to pull ourselves out of the Great Depression, but to win the Great War against Nazism and Japanese fascism. It's a long way from there to the New York State Senate, to the New York State Assembly, to the Westchester County Government, Board of Legislators, to the city councils and the town boards. But the principle is at stake again right now. Pete Harckham's victory is exactly about that principle at work. Now, Pete and I have known each other a long time. I use a phrase, my friends hear me say it over and over. He's been through the fire. So have I, so have many of them. Shelley Mayer most recently. What is the fire? The fire is a political campaign that's highly charged, accusations, awful things said, rumors, facts taken out of context, and when it gets bad enough and both sides are doing it, it makes people step away from the political process. But you go through the fire. Why do you do this? Why do you put your family through this? Shelley and I talked about it in her most recent special election, and I've been through it 4 times in the last 6 years. And Pete went through it. I remember when Pete ran for Bedford Town Supervisor, and I remember the aftermath of that, and I remember the assembly race, and how hard it is when you run and lose, and yet you still find a way to come back, not because of your ego, but because you believe in something. And that's what connects us to that 36th sense of American history, that we believe this is an experiment. This is the only experiment of its kind that has lasted this long. This is a democracy. It is a republic, but it is a democracy. That we turn to individuals, how well educated they are or how poorly educated they are, how old they are or how young they are once they reach the age of 18, whether they have money and wealth and property or not. And that out of that common process, that electoral process that is the fire, will come a George Washington when we need him. Will come an Abraham Lincoln when we need him. A Theodore Roosevelt when we need him. A Franklin Roosevelt when we need him. And now, we again need leadership. And we don't need it just at the national level. We need it at every level. We need it in every legislative position as we need it in executive positions, and we need them in judicial positions. We need people who understand that the framework of this country, of this government, is cooperative, even when we disagree. There are individuals in the audience who I consider friends of mine. They are Republicans. We hold different philosophical views. They are still our friends. We still work with them. We try to find common ground. We do not vilify them. And we don't accept vilification of us because we disagree. That is how this experiment has lasted this long. And when you have an election that's heated, and you go through the fire, and you come through it, whether winning it or losing it, which most every one of us has won and lost at various times, you come through committed to accomplishing something, not just getting ready for the next election. We've lost our way. We've worried now only about the next election. Everything is positioning for the next time we go before the election. We can't take a vote on a controversial issue because we might lose the next election. Let us kick the can down the road and let somebody else figure out how to deal with these issues, whether it's climate change or our finances. Let's not deal with it now. Why? Because there's an election. There's always another election. It's always coming. So the question for us, all of us who stood up, are we prepared to make those decisions? Make tough decisions, potentially unpopular decisions, and be willing to explain to people why. To talk to them in everyday terms and explain to them why this is an investment for tomorrow. Those Girl Scouts whom we applauded, those young singers, this is their country. In due time, we cannot make decisions that work for 2019 and 2020 and 2021 and sell off their future. You can't do that. We send people Harckham to the Senate to join Shelley Mayer, Alessandra Biaggi, David Carlucci, Jamal Bailey, and Andrea Stewart-Cousins. And you join with them our assembly delegations, Steve Otis, David Buchwald, Sandy Gale, the other assembly members who aren't here today. And you send them there not just to pass gender, not just to pass codification of Roe v. Wade, not just to do early voting or climate change. You send them there to prove that democracy works. You send them there to prove that a governor who knows how to build a bridge across the Hudson, which we needed, How many of you have seen the Tappan Zee Bridge when you're on the new bridge now? How many of you look at the Tappan Zee Bridge? Do you think to yourself, oh my God, I drove over that for 50 years? It looks like a tinker toy, my God. Why didn't we do this bridge sooner? Because it took leadership to do the bridge. It took vision. It took tough decisions to build that bridge. And that bridge is going to last longer than me, so that these Girl Scouts, in their mature years, when they have children and grandchildren, will be able to use a bridge, because there was foresight. We're losing that in America today. We have to recapture it. And we recapture it by what happens starting this Wednesday in the New York State Legislature. When my friends, my colleagues, with this governor, go to deal with these intractable issues. And we talk about the opioid crisis that we have. It is a crisis, my friends, and we're not organized to deal with it. We're dealing with it in half measures at the county. We're not dealing with it effectively. We're not dealing with it effectively in other places as well. That's why you send a Pete Harckham to Albany. Not that he has the solutions, but that he, working with other intelligent people, that we can self-govern, that we amongst ourselves can figure out how to solve these problems. Let me close with a great degree of arrogance on a stage where there's a rabbi, a minister, and an imam, that I dare quote scripture. But let me quote one of my favorite lines, it's oft quoted, it's from the book of Micah. What does the Lord require of thee? 3 things. Any of you who are married with a spouse, any of you who have some responsibility in a personal life, you say, hey, what do we have to do around the house? You're not going to get a list of 3 things. You're going to get a list of 10 things. Something has to do with the roof. That's a big project. I ain't going up on a roof, let me tell you that. And I don't think I have enough money to have anybody go up on a roof. The Lord only requires, in the book of Micah, 3 things. That you do justice. That you love mercy. Mercy at our borders. Do justice, love mercy. And most importantly, walk humbly with thy God. Humbly. Peter used that phrase himself. Be humble about what we do. All of us elected officials, we're only here for a little while. Just a little while. 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, less than that, it's a little while. Be humble. There's something greater than us. If you have theological belief, then it's an almighty. But even in a secular belief, we, the people of America, are greater than any one of us as a politician. We've lost our way, but we can find it, and we can get back there. We can do it in Westchester County. You can do it in Albany. You can do it in the towns and the villages and the cities. And you can do it by celebrating democracy and understanding that it is we the people, not a guy on a white horse coming to save us. It's us. It's us. It's what we do, how much we're willing to listen, how much we're willing to focus, and how much we're willing to stand up and take tough decisions, because that's what's necessary to make sure that we have a better future. I'm proud of Pete Harckham. He's been through the fire. He's through the fire. And now comes an opportunity, Peter, which you've earned, and we're excited that you have, along with your colleagues. And we look forward for the results that will come out of that. And I'm confident, I am confident, that you will be a great senator, and those results will be, as an epiphany, manifest.
Thank you, County Executive George Latimer, for such wonderful words. Yes. One more time. Yes. That was awesome. It really hit home. He mentioned about going through the fire. Even though Senator Pete Harckham went through that fire, he still gave well wishes to Senator Terrence Murphy. So that shows the character of the person you guys are dealing with. You've proven to do it already. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, are you enjoying yourselves?
Yes!
If you're enjoying yourself, let me hear you say yeah. Coming back to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, from Peekskill High School, the Peekskill City Singers. All right.
bright star,
shining as
the sun.
With no less days to sing His praise. Then when we thirst, be
One more time for our Peekskill City Singers. All right, so now we're going to get to our benediction from Dr. Martha Jacobs from the First Congregational Church of Chappaqua, New York, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I guess I have to claim that my great-great-grandparents came over from Russia and Romania, and so I too have spent years, I guess, trying to give back in thanks for my being an American citizen. Would you kindly join me in prayer? Holy One, we give you thanks that there are people like Peter Harckham who are willing to serve for the greater good of all New Yorkers. We give thanks he will be a strong advocate for the rights of all people. May he have the wisdom, the patience, and the fortitude he needs to reach across the chasms that divide our state. Bless his family as they seek to support him, and bless all of those who work with him as they seek to help him help us. Bless Governor Cuomo and Westchester County Executive George Latimer and all who lead and serve our county and our state. May they do so with great humility. Oh God, grant that in the end, truth will overcome untruth. May all the branches of our government be reopened and fully functioning, so that all of the people in our country and those who are seeking to find asylum in our country may prosper and grow. Oh God, may our country reflect the beautiful melting pot of cultures, races, religions, sexualities, and classes that New York State represents. May we be a beacon for the rest of our country and world. Grant us all the heart and the spirit we need to get through these times of challenges, opportunities, and hope. Help Senator Harckham and all of our leaders and all of us be able to see what is possible and to strive to be the best that we can be, caring for all people. Help us to love our neighbor as well as ourselves, which is probably the hardest thing for us to do. But Holy One, we know that with you all things are possible. Bless us this day and every day. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say it was an honor and a pleasure to be your MC this morning. I am so grateful and so thankful. I had no idea in 2001 when I was in the drama club that in 2019 I'd be on this stage introducing our state senator. Not only am I excited to work with this legislative, with these wonderful individuals, but it reminded me of where I came from. And it is possible to be something. It is possible to be somebody. And Pete Harckham, through the entire fire, as George Latimer described it, you are still the same person I met before the campaign. You are a genuine person. You're an honest person, a caring person, a giving person. And I appreciate you for continuing to be that person to this day. God bless you. Say for me and my council as well, Deputy Mayor Talbot, Councilwoman Riley, Councilman Smith, Councilperson Aguadella, and Councilman Fernandez and Councilwoman McKenzie. It feels good to be able to call these people my friends, ladies and gentlemen. We call them my friends. So I certainly want to say we thank you all for being here and supporting this wonderful occasion. We also want to thank the Peekskill City School District for allowing us to be here this morning. Superintendent Dr. Mauricio, the Board of Education, all of the people that have made this happen. We thank you. And I want to end this, oh, and also one of my favorite people, Drew Claxton, is here, folks. So I just want to say God bless you all for being here. God bless Senator Pete Harckham and his entire family. And as I always say, God bless one of the greatest cities on earth, Peekskill, New York, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.